It all started like one of those harmless things you don't think twice about. My wife Hannah began coming home late from work, a few times a week at first, then pretty much every day. Always the same excuse. End of quarter, everything's on fire. She'd walk in, looking drained, toss her bag on the floor, kick off her heels, and go straight to the shower. Fair. I've seen her swamp before. We work in the same company, different departments. I'm in operations. She's on the marketing team. I know when things get rough around deadline time. But this felt different. She wasn't just tired, she was somewhere else, zoned out, cold. I'd ask her how her day went and get nothing but busy or you don't want to know. At first, I backed off, gave her space. I even started cooking dinner more often, thought it'd help lighten her load. But she'd barely eat, just pick at her food, mumble, thanks, and go to bed early. I chalked it up to burnout. We've all been there. God knows I've come home fried after 12 hours of spreadsheets and meetings. But then I started noticing little things. Her phone was never in plain sight anymore. Used to be lying around the living room or kitchen. Now it was always screened down or in her pocket. She started locking her laptop when she left the room. That was new. One night, around midnight, I got up to grab water, and there she was in the living room, in the dark, lit only by her screen, typing fast. She jumped when I said her name, slammed the laptop shut like I'd caught her stealing nuclear codes. Couldn't sleep, she said. Everything okay? Just work. Go back to bed. Her tone wasn't rude, but it wasn't warm either. I laid in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, thinking about that laptop slam. And that's when I realized something else. It wasn't just the late hours or the mood swings. It was how far away she felt. Emotionally. You know how you can be in the same room with someone and feel like they're a mile away? That was us. Something was off. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore it anymore. And what's worse, we worked under the same roof, same building. If something shady was going on, it wasn't happening miles away. It was right there, in our office. But I didn't say anything. Not yet. Instead, I started paying closer attention. Because when the woman you share your life with starts hiding pieces of hers, you learn to look where she's not pointing. There's this feeling you get when something's slipping out from under you, and no one says it out loud, but you feel it. Like the floor's shifting, just slightly. At work, things started getting weird too. My manager, Paul, used to be all handshakes and "you're my guy." We weren't drinking buddies or anything, but he respected me, trusted me. Lately, cold, short. I'd give updates, and he'd barely nod. Sometimes, he'd cut me off mid-sentence like I was wasting his time. And then there was this one meeting. I pitched a small optimization for a warehouse process. Paul didn't even look at me, just said, "Let's park that," and moved on. I sat there thinking, what the hell is going on? Meanwhile, Hannah kept coming home more tense than ever, jumping between being oddly quiet and randomly snapping over nothing. I left a spoon in the sink once she acted like I burned the house down. I tried to talk to her, asked if we were okay. She smiled, but not the warm kind, the kind you use when you're about to lie. Of course, work's just hell right now. I didn't buy it. But what do you say to your wife when you feel her slipping away and you don't even have proof? Now, here's where it gets strange. Or fateful. There's a woman in our finance department, Lora. Quiet, smart, one of those people who always knows what's going on but never talks unless needed. We'd worked together on some budget stuff before, nothing personal. One day I ran into her in the break room. I must have looked like hell because she asked, "Rough day?" I don't know why, but I answered honestly. Tough week, something's off. At home, at work, everything feels upside down. She gave me this look, not pity, not nosy, just calm curiosity. "Want to grab a coffee after work?" she asked. "You look like you need to talk to someone who isn't part of it." I hesitated, but nodded. We ended up at a diner down the street, sitting in a booth with two sad-looking coffees and a shared silence. And then I talked. Told her about Hannah, the late nights, the distance, the cold shoulder. Told her how Paul, my manager, started acting like I was invisible. How Hannah and Paul had been in more meetings lately. "Marketing ops sinks," she said. How I was starting to feel like I was in the wrong movie. Lora listened. That's the only word for it. She didn't interrupt, didn't throw in cliches, just sat there, nodding slowly. And then she said, "I think you're right to feel this way." I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I've seen things," she said carefully. "Heard things. I wasn't sure what to do with it. But now that you've said this..." She trailed off, looking at her coffee like it might tell her what to say. "Look," she continued, "I'm not saying jump to conclusions, but if you really want to know what's going on, I might be able to help." I blinked. "Help how?" Lora looked me dead in the eyes. "I'm good with numbers, but I'm better with information." She smiled just slightly, and in that moment, I didn't know what she meant. Not yet. But I was about to find out that our company's quietest accountant was basically running her own private intelligence agency. So, turns out Lora wasn't just good with spreadsheets. She was a damn Sherlock Holmes in a cardigan. The next morning, she caught me by the vending machine and said, quietly, "We need to talk. After work." No small talk. No coffee this time. Just business. We met in her car, a nondescript silver sedan parked near the loading dock. She handed me a manila folder like it was a classified operation. Which, frankly, it felt like. "I started digging," she said. "Nothing crazy. Just patterns. Timelines. A few surveillance tricks." I blinked. "You did what?" She actually blushed. "Don't freak out. It's not illegal. I didn't hack anyone, just observed." Inside the folder were printouts. Call logs, not full content, but metadata. Numbers dialed. Duration. Time of day. One number popped up more than any other. I looked at her. "That's not my number," I said. "Nope," she replied. "It's Paul's." My stomach flipped. "She calls him after work," Lora added. "Sometimes for 30, 40 minutes. Almost every night for the last 2 weeks. And the excuse is? Late meetings, deadlines, marketing coordination." I closed the folder. "Could be work." "It could be," she said. "But it gets better." She reached under her seat and pulled out a small USB drive. "Last Thursday," she said. "I left a motion, sensitive camera pointed at the parking lot, just in case." I stared at her. "Wait, you set up surveillance?" She shrugged. "I told you I believe you're being played. I'm just helping you confirm it." There was something in her eyes, then focus, but also something softer. I didn't think much of it in the moment. My brain was busy exploding. At home that night, I plugged in the USB. Fast forwarded to Thursday, 7:43 p.m. There she was. Hannah, walking to her car, Paul already waiting by it. No briefcase. No documents. Just him, leaning against the door. She approached, smiled. They didn't kiss, not yet, but she touched his arm. Too comfortably, too casually. I paused the footage. You ever feel like you're floating outside your own body? Like you're watching someone else's life fall apart, only it's yours? Yeah, that. The next morning, Lora had more. "She left for book club last night, right?" she asked, eyes sharp behind her glasses. I nodded. "Well, Paul's car left 15 minutes later, same direction." I didn't even ask how she knew that. I just nodded. Lora sighed. "Look, Mark, I know this is hell. I'm not trying to push you, but you deserve to know. Whatever you decide to do with it, that's up to you." I sat back, rubbing my eyes. "I don't know what to do," I admitted. "I feel like I'm watching a movie I didn't agree to be in." "You're not alone in this," she said quietly. I looked over. She held my gaze just a second longer than usual, then turned away, flustered. It hit me not full on, just a flicker that maybe this wasn't just about helping. But again, I shelved that thought. Right now, I had a wife lying to me. A boss, maybe worse, and a quiet accountant who was suddenly the only person I trusted. It was worse than I thought. Worse than any gut feeling, any suspicion, any flicker of doubt, because now I had proof. And the proof was ugly. Lora gave me another USB drive. Said nothing, just handed it to me like she was passing a loaded gun. There was something in her eyes. A sadness maybe. Or rage. I didn't watch it right away. I waited until I got home. Sat down at my desk, plugged it in, told myself I could handle whatever I saw. I was wrong. The folder was called Wed 20th. Inside photos, dozens. All taken from a small camera Lora had mounted on the fence outside our company parking lot. She'd even angled it just right to catch the front entrance. To catch what nobody else was meant to see. My wife, Hannah, and my boss, Paul. They weren't just friendly. They weren't just chatting. He kissed her. Full on. In front of the building. Twice. Later, a photo of them laughing in his car. Her hand on his chest? I kept clicking. There was one shot. She was climbing into the passenger seat, her blouse slightly undone, like she'd been pulling at it. Paul's hand rested on the back of her neck. My stomach turned, but the photos weren't the worst part. No. That came next. Audio. Apparently, Lora had planted a listening device in the conference room. She said it was easy. Nobody locks anything around here after 6 p.m. She'd set it up under the fake ficus plant. I clicked play. Their voices. Clear as day. Paul. He's a deadweight, Hannah. I'm sorry, but Mark's not executive material. Not anymore. Hannah. He's just safe, but boring and stubborn. He still thinks hard work matters. I stopped the recording. I couldn't breathe. Then pressed play again. Paul. I can't promote him. I can't keep covering for him. If he's not gone by Q2, it'll reflect on me. Hannah. So we push him out. Quietly. Maybe suggest a relocation or cut his bonus. He'll get the hint. Paul. You're cold. laughing. Hannah, you like that, don't you? Silence. Then, sounds I never wanted to hear. I yanked out the earbuds, stared at the screen. I wasn't just being cheated on. I was being erased, undermined, cut out like dead weight. By my own wife, by my own boss, the two people I trusted most outside of my family. And the worst part, they were enjoying it, planning it like some petty office drama over coffee and conference calls. I called Lora. She picked up fast. You listened to it. Yeah. Silence. I'm sorry, Mark, she said. I didn't want it to be true. I rubbed my face, then asked, how long? Best I can tell, 3 months, maybe more. But lately, they've gotten careless. Because they think I'm blind, I muttered. Lora didn't respond. I took a deep breath. Do you still have the audio files? I have backups. Keep them safe, I said. We're going to need them. For what? For everything. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, laughing, plotting, touching. The woman I built a life with, the man I built a career with, both treating me like an obstacle to be quietly removed. The next morning, I showed up to the office like nothing happened, nodded to Paul when he passed me by the coffee machine. He smiled like we were still on the same team. Inside, I was boiling, but I kept it together. Because I had to, because Lora had a plan. We met again, this time in a little cafe a few blocks from the office. She came in early, laptop already open, coffee half gone. Her sleeves were rolled up like she was preparing for war. You ready to blow it all up, she asked. I'm still in shock, to be honest. Good, use that, but keep it inside. For now. She turned the laptop around. Spreadsheets, timelines, contact lists. I blinked. You built a dossier? Of course, digital and physical backups. Timestamp photos, audio recordings, message logs. I even tracked calendar invites and car logs from the parking passes. I just stared at her. She sipped her coffee. You're not dealing with just betrayal, Mark. You're looking at premeditated corporate sabotage. If we play it right, we don't just expose them. We win. I laughed bitterly. Win what? A medal in emotional damage? She smiled. No, something better. A fresh start, on our terms. Then she told me there was a rival firm, Titan Strategies. Sleek, fast-growing, aggressive, and poaching talent. She had a friend over there, said they were expanding and looking for an entire team to handle a new West Coast project. I already spoke to them off record, Lora said. They're interested, but they'll want more than just you and me. I raised an eyebrow. So, I reached out to Tony. Tony, old friend, colleague, damn good at what he does. We used to joke we'd start our own shop someday. Back before office, politics sucked the life out of us. Tony's in? I asked. He is if you are. But we need to move fast. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was strategy. If we resign together and take even 2 of the firm's clients, she said, Paul's whole quarter collapses. The board will have questions. HR will dig. And if they hear the tapes, Paul's done, I said. She nodded. And Hannah? I paused. She can explain herself to HR. Or not. Doesn't matter. We spent the next hour building our exit plan. Lora already had a list of clients we could contact discreetly, ones we had strong ties with, who might be willing to follow us. Tony was working on polishing our joint pitch for Titan. Meanwhile, I went back to the office, sat through meetings, smiled at Paul's jokes. I even kissed Hannah on the cheek when I got home, just to keep the performance going. But something had shifted. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the quiet storm rolling in. It happened on a Tuesday. Gray sky, bitter coffee. That kind of morning when you already feel something's off before anything happens. At 10:14 a.m., my phone buzzed. Paul wants to see you in his office. The message came from his assistant. No subject, no smiley, just cold and straight. I knew it was coming. Lora had warned me they were accelerating the plan. She'd overheard something in the hallway, Paul talking to HR about performance issues and discreet separation. Typical. I knocked once and walked in. Paul looked up from his monitor, tried on that fake CEO smile he always used in meetings. Mark, buddy, have a seat. Buddy. Right. I sat, calm, hands folded in my lap. Inside, though, my pulse was a war drum. He didn't waste time. So, let's talk. I've noticed some. Concerns. Concerns? Productivity, attitude, team synergy. I've had some feedback that you're not as engaged lately. I smiled. Feedback from whom? He ignored that. Now look, I know we've worked together a long time, but I think maybe you've lost your passion here. That's not a crime, Mark. People outgrow places. There it was. The nice knife, the kind they plunge into your back while offering you coffee and a handshake. I want to offer you a graceful exit, he said. We'll call it a restructure, 2 weeks pay, a letter of recommendation, no hard feelings. I tilted my head. That all? He blinked. Excuse me? I reached into my briefcase, took out a folder, thick one. Here's a better idea, I said. You'll accept my resignation by the end of the week. I'll take 3 of our key clients with me, and you'll refrain from any attempts at legal pushback. In exchange, I won't forward these to the board. I slid the folder across the desk. Paul didn't touch it, but I saw his jaw tighten. Inside, time-stamped emails, calendar screenshots, photos, audio transcripts, all showing his little extracurricular project with my wife and his attempt to oust me behind closed doors. He glanced at me. You've been spying on me? No, just protecting myself. You should try it sometime. He leaned back, fake smirk replaced with cold silence. This is blackmail. No, Paul, this is business. And guess what? You started it. Before he could say another word, I stood up. You've got until Friday to make it clean. Otherwise, well, let's just say the partners won't enjoy listening to their starboy dirty, talking a married employee over company Wi-Fi. I walked out, didn't slam the door, just clicked it shut, quiet and final. Meanwhile, across town, Lora was already in a conference room at Titan Strategies. They loved the pitch, loved our plan. They even offered her a senior strategy rollway above anything she had in accounting. She texted me after. They want you in for final talk tomorrow. Bring Tony too. I looked at the message, then glanced back at the hallway I just walked through. 5 years I'd given this company. Loyal, honest, naive, maybe. Now I was about to burn the whole damn bridge and walk away smiling. We didn't sneak out. We marched out. Friday, 5:55 p.m. While the rest of the office was halfway into their weekend plans, I handed in my resignation letter. Tony did the same. Lora? She'd already been quiet quitting all week, clearing her desk, wiping her drives, prepping her exit like a pro. By 6:10 p.m., we were gone. But before we left a little gift behind. Lora had built the folder, color-coded, labeled, every damn detail. Photos of my wife and Paul, our charming CEO, holding hands in the parking lot. A few too many working late shots from the security cam. A voice memo where he casually joked about clearing the floor and cutting off the dead weight, aka me. But the real kicker? A screen recording of their little after-hours Zoom session. You'd think grown adults would know not to use company laptops for extracurriculars. But no. These two went full Shakespeare in lust mode video, voice, everything. It was pathetic and perfect. We uploaded it all. Anonymous email, subject line, ethics matter, especially at the top. To HR director, legal, and just for good measure, the board of directors. No cinder, no trace. We walked out into the evening air, 3 men and 1 quiet genius in glasses. You sure they'll act on it? I asked Lora. She just smirked. HR lives for this kind of drama, trust me. Monday morning's going to be a fire drill over there. I believed her. By Monday noon, rumors were already flying. Paul had canceled meetings. His assistant looked like she'd aged 5 years overnight. My now ex-wife hadn't shown up at all. Meanwhile, we were drinking overpriced coffee in the lobby of Titan Strategies. They made it official. Full package. New roles. Signing bonus. Even threw in a celebratory lunch. You 3 come as a unit? The CEO joked. Lora smiled. Let's just say we work better when we're not surrounded by snakes. That afternoon, they introduced us to the team. Fresh start. Clean desks. Real air in the room, the kind that doesn't taste like betrayal. I kept checking my phone, not out of anxiety, but curiosity, waiting to see if she'd call, if Paul would try to flex, if HR would leak. Around 3 p.m., I got my answer, a voicemail from an unknown number. Hi, this is, well, you know who I am. I think you've made your point. We should probably talk. I didn't reply. What was there to say? The company we helped build had become a theater for secrets and side deals. Now they deal with their own cleanup. Me? I was already thinking about next steps. And Lora? She was 2 steps ahead, already planning client meetings, team structures, onboarding workflows. The woman could turn chaos into strategy in her sleep. Later that night, we met up at a bar near the new office. Feels weird, I said, sipping my drink. Leaving like that. Feels clean, she corrected. She raised her glass. To starting over, she said. I clinked mine back. To burning bridges when the road behind you's full of landmines. We both laughed. Behind us, that old chapter was catching fire. Ahead? Only forward. Every punch should make a sound. And this one? Man, it echoed. Me and Laura sat in the sleek glass conference room at Titan Strategies, across from Mr. Jenkins, old school, gray suit, handshake kind of guy. He ran one of the biggest contracts from our old firm, generational type partnership. We want to work with people we can trust, he said, tapping his pen. And Mark, you've always been one of those people. Laura didn't flinch. She was calm, focused, just spreadsheets, numbers, proposals. No drama, no gloating. 3 days later, Jenkins Industries signed with us. $4 million. 2 years. With an option to renew. When I got in the car afterward, I just sat there and exhaled. You ever have a moment where your brain can't catch up to reality? That was mine. Laura buckled in beside me. This is just the beginning, she said. Guys like Paul think they're untouchable, but facts don't care about egos. Boom. Meanwhile, over at the old firm, things were unraveling fast. HR launched a full internal investigation. The board called an emergency meeting. Legal was scrambling. First, Paul disappeared from Slack, then from the calendar. Then we got the big one. Effective immediately, Paul Reeves is suspended pending internal review. As for Emily, yeah, my wife, she wasn't exactly thriving either. She started texting, calling, tried to coincidentally bump into me near Titan's building. Let's talk. You've misunderstood everything. This is Laura's fault. She's manipulating you. Oh, sure. Laura's secretly a villain from a Netflix thriller now. I didn't respond. And then, just days later, another email dropped. Employee Emily Reeves has been placed on administrative leave pending review. Yeah, that hit. That night, me and Laura sat in this quiet corner cafe. She had a latte. I stuck with black tea. My phone buzzed a message from someone I used to know in HR. They're both being monitored. Execs want to clean house. I looked up from my screen. They never saw it coming, I said. They thought you were predictable, Laura replied, sipping her drink. But turns out you were just decent until they gave you a reason not to be. She was right. And the best part? I didn't even go for revenge. I just took back what was mine. My peace. My career. My self-respect. You realize, I said as we walked out of the cafe, they dug their own graves. And you just politely helped them lie down in it, Laura smirked, with a folder and a smile. It started with messages. Long ones. Short ones. Voice notes at 2 a.m. where she was crying or pretending to. Then came the emails. Then the texts to mutual friends. Can you ask Mark to talk to me? Please. Just one conversation, one coffee, one chance. I ignored them all. Until one night, knock on the door. And I knew. Call it a sixth sense, or just the kind of headache only your ex can give you. I opened the door. There she stood. Emily. No makeup, hair a mess, wearing the old hoodie she always stole from me when we were still us. Her eyes were already red. Mark. She looked like someone who'd rehearsed the speech in the mirror 100 times and still had no idea how to start. I need to talk. Please. I said nothing, just stepped aside. She came in, slow, like she was walking into a courtroom instead of a living room. I messed up, she started. God, I know I did. I was stupid. I got caught up in something that wasn't real. You were real. She was crying now, shoulders shaking, voice cracking. I don't care about Paul. I never did. It was just attention. I felt like you were drifting, and I was scared. Oh, the classic. Blame the victim. Make your betrayal about my distance. I didn't interrupt. Let her talk. Burn herself out. I lost everything, Mark. My job, my respect, and you? She looked up, eyes locked on mine. I just want a second chance. That's when I finally spoke. You didn't just make a mistake, Emily. She blinked. You're not a typo. You're a recurring pattern. What does that even mean? She whispered. It means you're not an error. You're a warning sign. A big flashing neon light that says, do not trust. I reached into the drawer and slid a small flash drive across the table. What's this? She asked, hesitant. Photos, voice recordings, transcripts, all the stuff Laura gathered. Keep it, share it. Hell, send it to HR or Dramatica TV if you want. Why would I want this? Her voice cracked. I shrugged. For closure or accountability. Pick whichever word makes you feel less guilty. She didn't touch the flash drive, just stared at it like it might explode. I still love you, she said finally, barely audible. I stood up, walked to the door. You love you, Emily, and you're just upset I stopped doing the same. She tried to follow. Please, can we talk more? Just. I opened the door wide. Goodbye, Emily. She stood there for a second longer, eyes pleading, lips trembling. Then she left, and I closed the door. Soft. Quiet. Final. She didn't call for a few days after that night. Guess even she knew when the final curtain had dropped, but I wasn't done yet. There was still one thing I needed to say. not to her to the version of her that thought I'd stay quiet. So I put together a little something. I took Laura's folder, the photos, the audio files, the transcribed calls, everything. I even added a couple of internal memos that mysteriously made their way to me after the HR investigation kicked off. Tied it all up with a digital bow, dropped it on a flash drive, and sent it to her work email. No subject line, just a message. This, it goes either to HR or to that cheesy daytime drama show you always watched. Your call. But wherever it ends up, one thing's for sure. I won't be there. A day later, she replied, just one line. You've changed. Yeah. No more Mr. Nice Mark. That was the end. No big final talk. No second chances. No slow piano music playing over flashbacks. Just a clean break. I didn't just walk away from a marriage. I walked away from the role they tried to assign me, the fool in the background. Now, I've got a new job, a new team, and one very sharp ex-accountant who somehow knows how to make killer coffee and spot a fake expense report at 20 paces. We don't talk much about the past, but sometimes when we're leaving late and she gives me that look, I can tell she's thinking the same thing I am. Damn, that was one hell of a plot twist. Fade to black.